What happens when a young boy dares to dream beyond the world he was born into? Washington Black is a sweeping story about freedom, invention, and the courage to dream beyond your circumstance. Based on the novel of the same name, Washington Black is an 8-episode historical drama on Hulu that tells the story of George Washington Black, who goes by Wash, an 11-year-old slave who lives on a Barbados sugar plantation and escapes slavery. The story follows Wash as his creative and curious mind leads him on a path of adventure, self-discovery, and love. When I initially heard about this series, I saw it on Sterling K. Brown's page. Anything Sterling K. Brown is a part of, I'm supporting. So before knowing about the series, it was an immediate yes for me. As I did further research, I found that not only does Sterling K. Brown star in this, he's also an executive producer, and I've noticed pretty much all of the projects he takes on at this point in his career, he has an executive producer credit on it, including his other Hulu series, Paradise. After watching this series, I can say it's not like anything you expect as far as the complete story. I've seen a few people concerned over the fact it involves slavery, but that's not at all the show's center. It starts as such a small little thing and evolves into this magical, whimsical, heartwarming story. Let's get into performances and a breakdown of a few of the main characters. We have to start with Sterling K. Brown. He once again gave a remarkable performance. He played Medwin, who was the manager of the boarding house, and his mantra was, "I protect my people," and that was him through and through. Medwin has a network, and he protects people and runaways, etc. He wasn't a main focus, but he brought this quiet intensity to his character. His scenes with Wash are so special, and that's how you know Sterling had a hand in this, because he always brings that kind of mentorship vibe to a lot of his roles. He doesn't treat Wash as someone who needs saving in this role. He treats Wash as his equal, as someone who truly loves him. Ernest Kingsley Jr., he plays Wash in his adult life. I think he does a great job at depicting a boy full of pain, but also full of so much love. His motive and goal as an adult is to be a part of the Royal Science League World Expo in London. In his adult life, he settles in Halifax, where Medwin and Miss Angie take him in, get him a job at the docks, and provide housing for him. Eddie Karanja plays young Wash. This young boy blew me away. His facial expressions and ability to naturally show so much emotion and strength and range in his acting, it's such a special thing. He just has that it factor, and I'm looking forward to watching him grow in his career because I know he's going to be something special. Tom Ellis plays Christopher Wilde, aka Titch. Titch is a scientist who often name drops the Royal Science League, though his father is the one truly accredited. He's one of the Wilde brothers, and he basically pulls Wash out of slavery and takes him around the world. Him and Wash were like two peas in a pod and shared such a special relationship until it wasn't special anymore. Tom Ellis did an amazing job in this role, and I don't know if it's because of the way his hair was. I couldn't stop thinking about how much he favored Alan Rickman as his character, Professor Severance Snape in Harry Potter. Lola Evans plays Tana Goff, who is white passing. She's a musician and loves to play the piano. She's Wash's love interest. I enjoyed her performance and thought she was amazing. Tana and her father moved from London to Halifax because she basically outed herself and let everyone know who she really was. Her father was blackballed, he lost opportunities, and they were depleted of money. So he arranged a marriage for her, and their survival depended on her marrying Mickey, who owns the docks. One thing I loved about her and Wash's relationship is the issues they had were always with outside factors, but never with them. They were both dreamers, and that sparked an instant connection. They called themselves the Flying Man and the Musician, which was also a title drop in the episode. Their love for each other never wavered, and I'm glad to see a love that didn't require suffering first. It was refreshing to see the weight of their love for each other carry them through the story. What sets Washington Black apart from other historical dramas is that it's not just about escaping slavery, it's about imagining life beyond it, and the writing does a beautiful job of balancing that harsh reality with moments of wonder and possibility. Wash starts the series in bondage, and he's basically given the chance to be more. Erasmus Wilde, who owns the sugar plantation, gets a visit from his brother Titch, who's a scientist, and Titch ends up making an immediate connection with Wash after saying he could just see in his eyes he was a dreamer. He takes Wash out of the fields to help with the science projects. He soon realizes Wash is a dreamer and incredibly bright, and he starts teaching him about any and everything. Observe, record, engineer is one of the things Titch taught Wash that he carried through life, and they also had this saying to each other, capital, throughout the series, and I love that. I really enjoyed the moment when Titch showed Wash the moon, and Wash tried to hide his smile, and Titch told him, it's okay, you can smile, it's okay. And I think this is where the trust started for Wash. The third wild brother, Philip, comes and changes the trajectory of Wash's life. These three brothers, by the way, this is how I would describe them. Erasmus is evil, Titch is quote-unquote good, but Philip is filled with wrath and he wants everyone to feel it. He's jealous of Wash and Titch's relationship and one day takes him out into the fields and attempts to end his life. But after seeing Wash's resilience, he turns the weapon on himself and ends his own life. Before he does it, he says to Wash, "This is not going to be good for you." And he was right. This decision by Philip changed the trajectory of Wash's entire life in a lot of bad ways, but also some good. And we'll get back to why in a moment. Wash tells Titch, and Titch prepares for them to flee in this new machine that flies and can also move by sea. So Wash is officially removed from slavery by Titch, and the rest of the series jumps between flashbacks and present time, following young Wash and Titch as they navigate the world. This series has a great use of time manipulation and flashbacks and shifting between the past and present day. It's done in such a seamless way and just expands the story. Present time adult Wash, who changed his name to Jack Crawford, starts feeling the heat when hunters start to close in on him, which leads me to how Philip's decision changed Wash's life. Turns out the hunters are not after Wash for just running away. They're after him because they think he killed Philip. So this show is filled with so many layers and you discover something new at every turn. The story also touches on themes of identity, not just for Wash, but for the people around him. Titch, for example, is wrestling with his own ideas of morality and responsibility, while Medwin represents the possibilities of self-determined Black manhood. One of the most powerful themes in Washington Black is the tension between freedom and survival. Wash isn't just trying to escape physical bondage, he's learning how to live beyond it. The theme of being a dreamer also runs throughout the entire series. Wash's natural curiosity and brilliance, whether it's his sketches, his scientific mind, or his emotional intelligence, set him apart. But that gift is also a burden in a world that refuses to see Black children as full human beings. There's also this recurring idea of chosen family and membership, from Titch to Medwin to Gowie's, played by Natari. I think I pronounced that right, but this is him. He's an amazing actor. Who was the butler, and he would keep a watchful eye on Wash too. To Barrington, to Miss Angie. All of these characters helped Wash along the way, showing that guidance and recognition can be just as life-changing as escape. It truly takes a village, and all of these characters were vital to Wash's development. I have to share my favorite standout and full circle moment that brought so much emotion out of me. It starts when Wash crashed into the pirate ship and met Barrington. They had this instant familiarity and connection, like they knew each other their whole life. Unfortunately, when the captain got exiled from the ship, Barrington had to go with him. And Wash was devastated. He just cried and hugged him tight. Before leaving, Wash asked Barrington why he had to leave with the captain. And Barrington said, "He taught me how to swim." Barrington shared with Wash that a good friend will teach you how to swim. So make sure you choose them wisely, which served as a double entendre. On the surface, it's about survival, but it's also a layered metaphor. Teaching someone to swim becomes symbolic of emotional safety. Someone guiding you through uncharted waters speaks volumes about loyalty. The swimming lesson is both a literal moment and a metaphor for emotional trust and partnership. Choosing a friend or partner who supports you through life's deepest challenges, someone who won't let you drown. And that connects to the moment near the end when Medwin and Miss Angie send Wash off to London to live his life, and they hug and say their goodbyes. And Medwin mentioned that he was the one who taught Wash how to swim. And it confirmed then that literally and metaphorically, it wasn't Titch, it was Medwin. Medwin was Wash's person. He taught him how to swim. Who the captain was to Barrington was who Medwin was to Wash. And that entire setup and full circle moment was so well done and one of my favorite parts of the series. There were so many twists and turns, and the McGee one definitely surprised me a little bit. He ends up being a fraud. He killed the real McGee and stole his identity, which was why it was mentioned people assumed he was an older man and were so surprised to see how young he looked. This is one I should have seen coming, but I was so entangled with all these other elements of the show, it snuck up on me. But I like having an element of surprise. What also surprised me was realizing that he did have a love for Tana. He initially got into this for his own selfish reasons, but when she told him who she really was, where she's from, he told her that he admired that she lived her truth, and that's why he connected with her so much, because he wasn't being his true self either. On the side, he would participate in bloody fights, and I wasn't expecting any good to come from him, but at the end he showed redeeming qualities. When he accepted that Tana loved Wash, he let her out of their binding marriage contract and even let her use his carriage to go save Wash. I was surprised by his character development, but I'm happy it ended that way. There was a small Nat Turner appearance that I liked. It was short but very well executed. We got a true feel for who he was in such a short amount of time, but it was tastefully done. And the story with John was really sad. He used to manage the boarding house that Medwin took over, but his wife and children were murdered, and he was miserable from that day on. He ended up being a drunk, and I know he was down bad, but I was shocked that he set Wash up and took him to the hunters. And it was sad that Medwin had to use what John taught him as reasoning to kill him. And the saying was, sometimes the enemy is amongst you, and you got to do what you got to do to look out for your own. It was sad to see that happen, but his last words were, I get to see my family again. So it was good to know he was finally at peace. After successfully creating the first ever aquarium, Tana's father, Mr. Goff, lets Wash know that due to the times, they have to enter the project submission under Goff's name for the expo. But if they win, he will make sure to credit and record that Wash was one of the creators. Well, Goff broke his promise and took all the credit. And even though Wash was upset, he held his head high and decided to go the solo route and move forward with his dream creation. He soon found out that Titch was still living and he was in Morocco, so he decided to travel there to finish working on his creation, use their rugs as finishing touches, but also get some answers and closure from Titch. When he finally runs into Titch, they talk, and I'm not even sure Titch gave him the closure he needed. It more so turned into what Titch needed, which has been a theme of his. Look at how he decided to just leave Wash in the Arctic. Wash ended up giving Titch's father's last words, which were, don't live for me. And that's something I think Titch needed to hear after driving himself crazy and dedicating his whole life to trying to make his father happy. Wash was the bigger person in that moment, and even though Titch didn't really give him the answers directly, I think Wash was able to figure those answers out on his own, and just seeing him and feeling his energy was closure enough. It showed him Titch really hadn't changed, and it was time to move on. With the help from some people in Morocco and Tana, who Wash is now married to, Wash finally gets his creation up and running, and their adventure begins. Wash also met with Gaius and found out that not only did Kit pass away, Wash was her son. So immediately after learning this, Wash decided to use his creation and travel to his mother's village in Africa. Upon arriving, his mother's best friend was able to share stories with him and give him some closure. What was really special was Tana, who was pregnant at the time, gave birth in the water of his mother's village. And there were some beautiful moments of Wash speaking to his mother's spirit. And while Tana was giving birth, her mother was in the water next to her. And that was so beautiful. After having their baby, Wash and Tana decided to fly around the world. Tana even added her piano, and they visited Tana's family in the Solomon Islands, and their daughter grew, and it was literally a fairy tale ending, and that's what I loved most about this. Wash's journey all over the world: London, the Arctic, Morocco, his mother's village in Africa, the Solomon Islands. After so much suffering, it felt good to see a happy ending. I'm gonna give this a 4.5 out of 5. What I loved about the writing is how it refused to make Wash just a passive victim or a symbol. He was a full, complicated character who grew from episode to episode. You see how his trauma affected him, but also how his spirit survived. And while there were moments of real pain, the show didn't exploit Black suffering. It honored it while still leaving room for joy, curiosity, and love. The series invites us to think about freedom in a deeper, more personal way. Wash's journey reminds us that the real revolution is dreaming boldly even when the world tells you not to. And this is something I will forever carry with me. As a creative myself, I left the series feeling hope, feeling inspired to continue on my creative path, and I want to encourage everyone listening to do the same. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe, like, and leave a comment below and let me know what you thought of this series. My name is Kamara. Thanks for watching another episode of Screen Diaries. See you in my next video. Bye.